I
don't know.
can't hear
Charlotte's
it.
muted
The
too.
internet's
Oh my
unstable.
I'm
It's
sorry.
not stable.
I was on mute.
You've been on
It's
mute,
not
bro.
stable in my room, so I'm listening to you guys, and I'm like 3 seconds behind because I can hear your voice. So
Yeah,
like,
the internet's kind of stable too. Like, welcome back, guys. You know to be here in the presence of the president, Sean Williams. Welcome back to the safe room. It's about that time. It's about that time. I've been teasing this for a while, and we are here with the old school versus new school series. You know what it is. So today we got the old school group with me, and I gotta shout out all the people who are on here with me. I got my sister, you know what it means? That's my blood. That's that's gang Shenel. What's up?
what's poppin'? What's goody?
All right. Then I got my boy Tomi, repping that boy in Vanier. What's up, Tommy?
You know what to do, baby. How you doing, baby?
All right. I got the beautiful Tamera with me as well. You know what she be doing? The Tam Fam on YouTube. I be watching that as well.
What it do?
So, guys, today we're going to break it down, the old school versus new school. And I know what you're thinking. Lots of people have been asking me, yo, Sean, what do you mean by old school and new school? Well, today we're going to have I hope it won't be as long of a discussion. It depends how things go, but I'm really excited. Just a quick thing. Again, we just want to say that in terms of this discussion, this is not to say that we have all the answers or we know what we're talking about. It's just to have a good conversation about old school, new school, on each respective sides, using different streams, different talking points as well. Also, as well, when it comes to my other podcast, make sure you check that out. I dropped a recent episode for the Safe Room. It was based on in-class instructions, coming back to elementary and middle schools. Check out my sports podcast with my boys. We be dropping bear content there, so make sure you guys check that out. But yeah, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
As you ever be, baby.
Okay. So, when I was thinking about this old school, new school concept, it really got me thinking, what really constitutes as old school, new school? Because again, everyone has their own definition of it. So I just want to ask you guys for a quick minute, just take a moment to think about it. What really constitutes as old school and new school? Because that could be different things. It could be just what you listen to in terms of music. It could be based on how you think. It could be as simple as the year you were born and just the timeline between there. So I just want to hear what you guys think. What do you believe in your case and in your perspective is oh, this is old school in my definition, or this is new school?
Who want to start off?
I mean, I don't mind.
The floor is open. Just go in. We can just go in.
To dive in there.
When I was thinking about what would be considered old school, I kind of thought anything I would say before 2000 and then anything after 2000, because I feel after 2000 there was a large propel into new school, or a lot of newer ideas, concepts, TV shows, that kind of thing. So I feel they're two separate eras, that century versus the century we're in now. And yeah, this would be the last year anyone born in the 2000s would be in their teens. So.
Yeah, that's true. I ain't gonna lie about that.
That is true.
I'm gonna follow up on what Tamera is saying in that sense, in the sense that I believe the general constitution of what old school is just the basis of the fact that old school is what happened back in the day in terms of years and the number of years somebody's been around and that kind of stuff. But I believe it's more of a mindset type of thing in the sense of how you want to go about living your life and the lifestyle that you want to live, in the sense that, for example, I could be born I don't know, 2003. All right, that's still considered new school in terms of age and stuff like that, because I think you're only 16, 17. But if, let's say, you go about yourself, you have a mature attitude, you're thinking about stuff, you're I don't know, for example, listening to tracks back in the day, just the way you carry yourself and the way you move around yourself, I think that's what I would constitute old school is, in the sense of how an individual goes about their day-to-day lifestyle and just how about they carry themselves and stuff, rather than just leaving in the sense of just being age and whatnot. Because I know that myself, I'm only 22 right now. I only just turned 22 recently. So I don't know if that's considered old school or new school, but I think it's yes, sir. But I don't know. I think for me, in the sense that whether or not it's new school or old school, but I think it's more so based on how I think and how I process information and how I go about doing my stuff, which is why I would consider myself as part of being old school rather than new school, you know. But that's just my own 2 cents on that.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with what Tommy's saying. You mentioned something about maturity, and I think that's when it gets sticky because we automatically associate maturity with older generations, and then the new generations, that's kind of like, so you guys are not as mature. So it's like, I agree with the timeline, but the mindset is where it kind of gets sticky because I feel like the new school could also be mature. I think the only gray area is technology and how we go about living and adaptability and things like that.
100%. I'm agreeing with that in the sense that I'm not even saying that people that are born but because I definitely meet people that are younger than me, but the way they carry themselves and the way they act. But 100%, age has nothing to do with maturity in that sense. You could be young, whatever. It's just how you go about yourself and just the way you think and do about your own processes that make you think you're mature or not. You know, so.
I think I have a question in relation to that though, because when you say mentality, it's like you're saying someone has an old school or old soul mentality. So what about them, or what constitutes an old soul or old mentality, or like where is that construct coming from? So like, I'm just curious. I'm not.
No. Of course. No, of course. I believe it. The way I want to describe old school in a sense is that I believe everybody else has their own version or their own side to what they believe old school and new school may be. Me, I am. Call me traditional or whatnot. I'm just going off based on the fact of how people lived back in the day, in the sense of like, I don't know how you want to call it, 90s, 80s, wherever constitutes as old school, you know? And look at how things were back then and how people went about their lives back then, in the sense like they weren't too heavily dependent on like technology and all these new day-to-day stuff and all that kind of action. So I feel like these days for somebody to constitute an old school mentality is in the sense that you're not just so focused on like the material things, like, you know, like your phone, your, you know, social media, all that kind of stuff. You're actually trying to live life and do things and go out there and actually be productive with yourself. And that's what I consider old school as being in that sense, if that makes any sense to you. I don't know.
I agree. No, I get what you're saying.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because like in that same way, like if I were to, I'm the type of person I prefer to call people. I'm not really like a texter. I'm actually.
I hate texting.
I'm like the number one. My friends call me the number one light skin syndrome person. Like, because I don't respond. I don't be like, and it's just because I don't like being on my phone, or I'm present, or like, you know, I'm just not attached to my phone in that way. You know what I mean? So if I'm really trying to contact someone or I want to hear someone's voice, I'll call. You know. And that would be considered old school, because before it was, let me walk to the phone booth and
you know, give it a ring, put a little toonie inside or something like that, give somebody a call. For real. I think that's actually one of the problems I used to have before, not as much now, but I feel like for me, I never really used to live in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, let's say, for example, I'll go to like a concert, and rather than actually enjoying the music and being there and being in the moment, I'm out here taking Snapchats, recording the videos and stuff like that. And then when people are not asking, yo, Tommy, how was your night? I'm there like, let me look at my phone real quick. And then I got to start looking through the videos and stuff like that that shows how I was there, you know. But recently I realized that that's not how I want to go about living my type of life, you know, because at the end of the day, you only live one life at the end of the day. So you got to make the most of whatever opportunities that you get. And being in that moment, wherever it may be, even if it's the little things, like, I don't know, taking a walk outside, enjoying the sunlight, the good air, just little things like that make a big of a difference to other people, you know? So that's just my own sense.
I definitely feel like we can, in a sense, enjoy it more because we've experienced both, like the old school and new school. The new school don't really know how to get down without technology sometimes, because I grew up without technology. My first one was when I was 16. I'm 19. So like first time I got like Wi-Fi was when I was 9. So like before that, like I was chilling outside on the grass, like rolling around the dirt. But like people who were born in the new school are kind of like brought up with technology, don't know how to survive without it. So we can like alternate worlds, kind of. We can like choose to not have it and choose to have it. And we know how both of them feel, but like how does people who have only grow up with technology, like how do they go about that? Because they don't know what it feels like, you know?
Because they've grown up. Like I can use that. My sister, for example, I think my sister's like what, 13 right now. From the moment she grew up, I think she got her first phone when she was like 6. I don't know what the heck my dad was thinking, giving her a phone. I was 6. Because when I got my first phone, I think I was like what, 15, 2, something like that, 15, 16 when I got my first phone. So I think we're lucky in the sense that we were kind of in that transition period, in the sense that we kind of lived the life beforehand, in the sense that we weren't as privileged with technology and the stuff that is, and then now moving into today's society, the fact that all these different things are coming up, Uber, the Uber Eats, all these different things, so we can see the pros and cons of both sides, and we can decide which kind of lifestyle we want to live. But at the end of the day, those that are only brought up in that technology-based environment, there's only so much they can do, because they don't know what it's like living without their technology, living without their phones, living without the internet. So there's only so much they can do for them besides trying to educate them. But at the end of the day, a person is only, can only be the person they want to be. So
I feel like I have to challenge that a little bit though, because like growing up as a kid, I had a phone when I was in grade 3, I think. Oh, I was like 6. No, what?
Yeah, grade 3 is not 6. Maybe
Yeah, I was like 10.
Yeah, 9, 10, something like that.
But like, mind you, it was a flip phone.
It wasn't none of those technology, touchscreen, none of that.
No internet access, none of that. Like maybe just a call my mom and let her know I got home safe or like whatever. To be fair, that was for like safety purposes, because I was like commuting by myself at that age. Just the struggle of not having anyone to take you to school or like buses or whatever. So I did have access to a phone, and a lot of people would look at me like, oh, in school, like, oh, she has a phone, oh, she's this and that, like that mentality. But I feel like it was easy to like flip either or, to be completely dependent on technology, or to kind of like know that it serves a purpose, and like that it's there for that purpose, but it's not like main priority. Because you're right, like, I did grow up trick-or-treating, or like being in the middle of the buildings that I lived in. Come downstairs, like, come play, like that type of mentality, which I feel like is lacking a lot with new school.
The new schools, yeah, I can definitely agree with that, to be honest. Because nowadays, if you look at it, everybody is so like, I'm just as guilty too, but at the end of the day, but nowadays everybody is so focused on their, their PlayStations and their social media, especially Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. Everybody lives off those these days. That's why me myself, I even had to take a break for a while, because honestly, I felt like I was becoming too heavily dependent on those things. And I feel like, even though, not to judge anybody, at the end of the day, if this is how your lifestyle wants to be, you're allowed to do what you want to do. Everybody can be their own person. But I feel like we're losing something by being too dependent on such things. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a lot of basic life, I don't want to say skills or whatnot, but there's some things that we gain by being able to enjoy what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, like going out and actually meeting with your friends and hanging out and actually trying to have a face-to-face conversation, not just going out and everybody's sitting down on their phones, pressing things and stuff like that, But I don't know. I think I'm rambling a bit too much right now, but
that rule where people would like put their phone on stacky.
Yeah.
Yo, that needs to come back, because I'll win. Like,
you win?
I'll win. I'm gonna put it right there. I'm gonna leave it alone. Like, unless it's like I'll have a special ring for like my mom, in worst case, emergency purposes. But put it there. I'm not paying. Listen, someone's gonna check their phone. It's not me.
I know I used to have a problem with that. I'm trying to work on it a little bit more, but I know I still have that problem. I just, every once in a while, even when I'm even on this thing, I just look at my phone real quick, check for a message and whatnot or two. But I'm working on those things. It's a slow but steady process.
Man.
Also, sorry, what were you saying? Go ahead.
No, it's just like I feel like I should just leave and get up and let you guys just run the rest of the day. I feel like you guys are just covered everything in like in the small period of time.
Hey, we're just bouncing back ideas. Yeah, you didn't say nothing yet, Sean. You didn't constitute what you believe in old school.
No, I mean,
just sitting there looking at us.
I didn't want to disrupt you guys, because you guys were having a flow, but like
I was looking like, Sean, you gonna participate or?
Yeah, like this is your podcast, bro. Like, say something. Like,
there'll be times I'd be talking way too much, especially with so like having you guys just bounce off each other kind of makes my day a little bit easier.
A lot easier, huh?
But I totally agree with all you guys say. Tommy, what you said in terms of like the mindset and how we grew up, and you say when it comes to maturity, some of the new school just doesn't know how to adapt to that type of maturity, and Tamera as well, which you were touching on. Honestly, like when it comes to timeline, I've always, again, like what you said to me, after 2000s, that's more like the new school. Before 2000, like the old school. And, there's maybe some of the individuals who may have been born like in the late 1990s who could like somehow, possibly depending how the situation, how they grew up, they may lean on to more of a new school mentality.
Cool.
Like I just look within that timeline. Now I know there's other things people talk about these days, and like this discussion I hear a lot is millennials, which is like roughly maybe 1980 to like late 1990s, somewhere around there, and then like Generation Z. So everything after that to now. And like this and like, a lot of things where I hear about this mostly come from social media, where it comes to like roasting the other side, calling them out for all the things or all the different moments that they grew up on, to like what we experience right now. And like, I feel that's just really interesting how like you have these two sides just clashing back, when like, why can't we find a way to just, if you don't like what I'm doing, why are you just trying to make the situation worse? Why can't you just leave me be? Or if like, why can't we just come to an agreement where like,
I agree to this.
sit down, and like, if you don't like it, at least you can listen and understand. Like, I'm not forcing you to like what I like. I'm just saying like, these are things that I enjoyed growing up, and maybe that's not your taste, but at least you get to hear what happened in the past, or at least I get to hear what is going on right now, so I can catch up and at least like, okay, it's not my favorite thing, but at least I have an understanding about it. I think that's really important to acknowledge in these types of conversations.
100%, I agree, because I think that one thing that was a problem beforehand, in the sense that when I went up to it, was back then, I don't know, you wouldn't constitute as old school, new school, because I guess we're all still young back in the day. But the age gap back then meant a lot more than it does now, in the sense that, for example, for me back then, I'm using like high school, for example. When I was back in high school in Nigeria, there was such a hierarchy when it comes to age, in the sense that like if I was in grade 10, I can't talk to nobody in grade 12. Like I can't do nothing, I can't say nothing. Like whatever they tell me to do, I gotta listen. And whenever I try to do or go about my day, even not even trying to deal with them, just go about my day, living my own life, doing what I want to do, they would try and come in and push their own ideals on me. In the sense that they'll come to me saying that, "Oh, Tommy, you can't be doing all da 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 da, can't be doing da 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 da. I'm gonna beat you up if you do da 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 da." You know what I mean? So I feel like that was a problem back then. But I think as people tend to grow older and just become more mature, even though maturity doesn't equal age, but the general trend is that as you grow older, you become more mature. I think that whole thing comes less nowadays, because I don't think, like, for example, now I'm 22, I can talk to people that are 18, 17, I can talk to people that are 30 years old. I feel like the gap doesn't become as much nowadays as it was beforehand, but I don't know if that's maybe a me thing, or maybe you guys too kind of experience something similar to that. So I said, nah.
I hear you, because like that was one of my challenges with like the older school, is because I feel like with the older school, especially growing up, I always felt like I couldn't have conversations with the older heads because they felt like they were better than me or wiser than me, or that they couldn't learn anything, or couldn't, you know what I mean? They couldn't talk to me. I couldn't talk to them anyway without them feeling like I was overstepping or passing my place. And I had a problem with that, because like, I can learn something from you, you can learn something from me. And as I got older, I understand their perspective of being kind of stubborn, and just like they've lived years on Earth, they've made it around the sun a bunch of times. So there's a lot that they've learned that I haven't, or like things that they would have picked up or been wiser to that I haven't yet, because I am younger. So it's like having that balance of the two. But I also have that challenge and I don't know if you can agree with me, Shenel, but as a woman, like especially with older generation men, it's like they like, I'll be talking and then it just goes whoop, like straight over their heads, and that is a challenge that I would say I experience still with older generations. It's not significant enough for me to be swayed to new school, but just that like mentality of like not hearing what I have to say because I'm younger, or because I don't know as much in the same ways that they do. But on that same like note, millennials are the ones that like created the grunt work for what we have now, like Facebook, that. So they really did put a lot on their back, and the that they have is earned, like very much earned and due. So I respect millennials. All my siblings are millennials. I'm the last one. I'm the baby. So I grew up around them. Like, I love them, but I've just definitely encountered like those types who they're not open to discussion, or my sister, I have to show her like how to work Zoom, or like, you know what I mean? Just like little things like that where there is that disconnect.
Yeah, absolutely. And like for some new school like people, like maybe for them, like they may be born in that same new school period, but maybe when they grow up and, you know, eventually they refer to like, oh, what were the things that you remember growing up like as a child, or just like how your upcoming was, they may refer back to the same period, but they'll say like, let's say someone was born in like 2004, something like that, and they're 16 now in 2020. They may say like, oh, for me, like old school was like early 2000s, like mid 2000s, like all those stuff and that. And then someone from old school is like, what are you talking
about, bro? Say early 2000s, man. What the heck?
I'm like, you clearly need to go way back. Those are some of the things I see that just like, it doesn't get me triggered, but it just makes me wonder. It's just like, no matter what the timeline is, it keeps changing. The narrative keeps changing. It's like someone's old school becomes another one's like new school, in a way that the new school is like, this is my old school. But the old school is like, no, that wasn't even old school. That was new to you. Old school is going way back and digging further than that. And, you know, that's where the clash becomes. Like, I hope I'm not saying a bunch of nonsense and I'm confusing.
No. I get it.
You just hit a spot for me just now. Because at the end of the day, wouldn't you say, at the end of the day, isn't old school relative in the sense that it just depends on the timeline we are talking about, in the sense that, for example, for those that were in the 1980s, they were new school back then. Their old school was those that were maybe 1920s. I don't know. Maybe that may be a little bit too far, 60 years or some shit. But, you know, those back then, obviously, they didn't think they were old school at the time. They thought they were new school. You know what I mean? So exactly. I feel like at the end of the day, as time goes on, new school does become old school, and then eventually the old school becomes, you know, maybe past news and stuff like that. So I just feel like now I'm actually just trying to piece my head together, because I didn't really think of it like that. I don't know why. It's pretty obvious, but as you just told me right now, I just kind of flipped the switch and I'm like, oh, whoa, what the heck? Like, that's actually kind of true. But
that's crazy, because my grandma was born in the 40s. My sister's born in the 80s. And then my sisters have a stepsister who hasn't even watched Mean Girls.
She didn't even watch Mean Girls.
Wow.
She hasn't watched Mean Girls, and like, she like Mean Girls. What came out in like 2004 or something?
I think so, something like that.
6. She was born in 2005 or 6, and I was like, oh wait.
So then, what are you doing at this point in time? Like, you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
But
Mean Girls is a classic, by the way. I'm just gonna add
that. You know what I'm saying? With like a VCR, like, come on now, like
the whole little cassettes and stuff like that. Oh my god,
like,
man.
come on now.
There are so many things that we remember, like, you know, and again, it depends on like, because I think for us, we can relate to a lot of things, but maybe to the listener of this video, they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, these were the things we grew up on, and like these were the things that we used to jam out to in terms of music and everything. And music is one of like the more bigger like talking points. Like, we always talk about old school, new school, but I feel for me, when I'm talking to my friends, it's always music. Like, which one's better? Old school rap, new school rap, old school R&B, new school R&B, you know? Which one trumps over the other? So, like,
oh, I'm sorry. You can finish what you're saying.
No, go ahead, Tommy. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I don't think this is even a conversation or a topic that needs to be discussed. Old school rap, old school R&B,
everything old school.
Everything old school. Everything. Especially when you're talking that R&B and hip hop, bro. Are you kidding me? These days, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of a lot of these guys that are doing it right now, you know. But compare that, right now we have people like fucking 6ix9ine and Lil Pump and all these random people screaming into the things and making millions of dollars. But back then, people that actually made music. There were people that come in here, they went to the studio, they came and they put what was in their soul, their heart, and they came out with bangers that, you know, all these singing in the rain and all this. Like, come on, man. Like,
RJ. Ray J. I said RJ.
Oh, man. Y'all got me.
Wait. Literally, they need to bring that back. Bring it back. Singing in the rain.
We need to, bro. All them singing in the rain, dancing, choreograph. Oh my god. I'm getting a little heated right now. I might need to take a break for a second. You know what I mean? But
Well, you
For
know,
real.
we literally.
I'm not even on music like that, like new school music, because all my music is old school. Like, and for me, hip hop was Biggie and Pac and Nas and like
Come on.
rap. Biggie Smalls' Warning, front to back. That's everything to me. So I want to hear like I don't know, like Tommy said, like 6ix9ine or like just all that like dumb Gucci gang.
yeah, like just screaming into the goddamn microphone, screaming some random ass words, and oh my god.
There's no meaning anymore.
There
Like,
is
music
no
just has
meaning.
no meaning. It's very degrading, especially like I'm listening to half of this music and I'm like, wait, hold on, what you saying?
Yeah, they be saying some very sketchy stuff. Honestly,
You're
and you
such
hear
a
that, like,
effing hoe. I hated that song. And then it was playing so often that I was like,
Yeah, you start jamming, like subconsciously you're there in the back, like nope.
And that's an important thing because, you know, like, again, for everyone listening, we are not trying to, like, say that your music's trash, even though, like, most of us can agree, like, we don't rock with your music. But in the sense, like, we're not trying to be rude and disrespectful. We're just, again, this is the things that we think good. You know, sometimes we do fall in the trap where, like, you know what, there may be a couple of the new school artists that I kind of like a bit. Like, you know, there's a couple of people I don't mind, you know? And like people
tolerate
that as a sense, like, oh, so if you like some of the people, why are you bashing it? Or like if you clearly see that you're acknowledged, like, you know, there's some future talent, you know, and they could really build their own foundation, like, you know, build on their own generation. We talk about like upcoming artists like, you know, like Roddy Ricch, you know, Megan Thee Stallion, you know, just like examples. Obviously, we know there's people we listened to growing up, Rihanna, Chris Brown, all those guys, all those people. And it's like, okay, so if you acknowledge that, then why are you degrading our own generation? Like, we're not degrading it. We're just trying to let you know that these artists wouldn't be here if it wasn't for what type of music we got back in the day. Like, you can't say the ground was not laid.
A little louder for those in the back, Sean. I don't think a couple people can hear you, man.
So like, the groundwork was laid. You have to acknowledge it, and that's all we ask.
Three quarters of music right now are all, what's the word?
Sample?
Samples.
Sampled from old school tracks that are sampled from old school tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's the new wave in music now, sampling.
Yeah, very few people, and nobody knows. Yeah, they don't say it. They don't say nothing about it. They think that they're producing some brand new tracks, but legit 90% of the time they're taking tracks that have already been done back in the day, and maybe, you know, remix it a little bit and then do their little Gucci gang nonsense, and then they produce it, and then, you know, people are out here banging their heads. Like,
to add on to, like, when someone from the new school generation realize that, like, let's say someone from the old school realizes, like, you do realize the song is sample, right? They start getting triggered, like, oh no, it's not. No, they're really talented. Don't get you. It's like, listen.
You're trying to get so defensive when it's not necessary.
Get all mad. Like, I'm just telling you the truth.
It's just a fact. We're literally just speaking facts at you at this point, honestly. Like, they're like, you know, because like you said, there are a couple artists. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a lot of these artists these days. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I think Drake is considered new school, but I mean, you know, we use guys like Drake. You know, all these other people that are coming here, they're making tracks, and everybody likes them. I'll go to their concert too. But the fact is that majority of the music that we listen to now is literally a bunch of young teenagers coming out here screaming and degrading, especially, for example, the women, for example. That's a whole different topic, but you know, they're coming out here saying all this random stuff, and people are buying into it. They're buying their music and stuff like that. When us that maybe some other people that have listened to those tracks back in the day would compare and would just be like, these are two, like, in terms of quality, these are two different things. You know what I mean? Those people back in the day, they would come out here, and I see when they come into the studio, they know what they want. They coming in here like after a heartbreak, after they fell in love, after you know, amazing thing that happened, and they come and they speak what they feel from their heart, and that's how we can relate to that because it's genuine. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Some people like the Gucci gang stuff, but
there's a real challenge with that too, because honestly, I feel like with the new school, what happened is like we got catapulted into this new age of technology with the iPhones and the Blackberries. So I don't know what happened. It's like everyone was stuck on their phones, and then all of a sudden, all those same social issues that we were going through and that were apparent and blazing in our face kind of just got thrown into the background, and it made room for like this space in music where people don't talk about issues, like, or old school music, 90s, 80s rap. It's all race. It's all about intersectionality. It's all about the struggles of trying to be a Black man grow up in North America. Like all of those conversations are being had in old school rap or old school music in general, you know, or like Tomi said, the pains and woes of being in love, and even that as a society in new school, like it's the perpetuation of hot girl summer, hot boy summer, like play as many people as you can, break as many hearts as you can, simp behavior. And it's like those types of ideologies that program society to make it look crazy that someone wants to buy a girl flowers that he's interested in. That's simp behavior. Like things are often perpetuated into these songs, or everyone trying to live a future lifestyle and treat women a certain way, and that's also glamorized with music today. Nobody's really getting to the nitty and gritty of society and how tunnel vision we've been to what's going on. Like this year specifically, it's so eye-opening to kind of just notice how blind we've been. And new age music is what's kind of catapulted us into this age of social media and feeling like racism didn't exist anymore, feeling like we were in 2020 and whoa, like all that history stuff, all World War thing, yo, that wasn't in our generation. That happened so long ago. Oh my God, we're so past that. Like, are we really though?
That is so true. And like, you know, that I feel like for me, from when it comes to like choosing music, I always try to find those artists who are able to connect back to those times where people are talking or advocating, you know, for like racism and like oppression of what we had to face and just all the struggles and woes that we went through, just like you said, Tamera. So like, you know, when it comes to new school, I start like picking and choosing, like, you know, do I want to listen to this person because, you know, they have a message that, you know, isn't really talked about a lot. And when it comes to the new school, I feel like the only time they want to spread this type of message that we've been hearing in this old school generation is when there's like a huge situation. I mean, take the whole Black Lives Matter and take Little Baby, the song he dropped, The Bigger Picture. And like, I respect what he did, but does it take a situation like that for you to drop something that was honestly probably the best Little Baby song I heard that he ever did? He ever did. Like, I am not a Little Baby fan. When I heard that, I'm like, that should have been brand legit.
That was a good track.
So like, does it take moments like that for you to spread that type of message that we have been seeing in one generation but has now vanished into a new one? Like, that's the thing I don't understand.
Just to follow up on what Tamera said earlier on, I feel like what thing we're lacking right now in today's music is a purpose, in the sense that back in the day, people, when they came into the studio, I keep repeating this, but they came in there with a purpose. When they want to write a song, they know exactly what it is they want to write about, be it love, be it oppression, be it gender inequality, whatever it may be. They came out there because they wanted to communicate something through music. And that is what, for me, the kind of person that I am, I always listen to music because I want to connect with the artist. I want to connect with what kind of message they're putting across. And these days, what it is that people just don't care about what they're writing as long as they get their money and they get their fame and whatnot. That's what I think is also kind of helping mold society into what it is, in the sense that the fact that all these people that have a platform to say something and you know, make a difference and make a change, they're the ones, you know, rapping about very, you know, unnecessary things and unimportant things, and influencing the younger people coming up, because those are the ones listening to their music. They're influencing the younger generation, who's now going to become the older generation later down the line, and that may become the new normal for them, you know, based on what people nowadays are doing and stuff like that, which is what I feel is completely lacking between the old school and new school.
Yeah, so at this moment, I realized we were running on a 40-minute time limit as a big idiot, but honestly, we had to get off the link and rejoin, so that's why I had to cut Tomi off and tell him, yo, we have to get back to you later on. So my fault for that, but please enjoy the rest of the video. Thank you.
Okay, all right, so we're back, guys. I think we were talking about music, but I kind of want to move on because I don't want to go back butting heads to that. But another thing that people talk about, not just in terms of music, but like Shenel mentioned before, was technology. Now, when it comes to that, like, let's be honest, if we're comparing old school and new school, like, I think there's no comparison. New school is more advanced in terms of like technology, so I don't want to do that. I just want to look at both sides in terms of like the use. Like, what do we use it for specifically? Or like, how much do we consume compared to like the new school? Because again, it's like you guys touched upon before. Like for us, like we just use it for like the more simplistic things, you know, for a phone, just a phone call. Like me, I'm not really a texter either. It's just I just do what the phone requirement is, you know, just call, emergencies, anything like that. That's how it is. And then like there's social media as well. Like I don't go on social media like crazy. Like I'm not always on there like 24/7. But in like the new generation, I mean, that's a different story. You know, you again, like Shenel said, you can't survive without like your electronics or like your phones, your laptops, iPads, Macs, whatever, Samsung. So like I just want to get your guys' opinion on that. I mean, we've touched upon it a lot of times, but you know, now that this is the time to just really break it down a bit, you know, I just want to get your guys' take on just how technology, just how you guys have just dealt with it growing up and just now.
I personally feel like growing up without it was really good, and I wish we can go back to that sometimes. But unfortunately, we live in an era where everything is technology now. Like schools resuming in the fall, take that for example. Like things that you wouldn't think that would be available for like online access is now available, and like we're consistently having to adapt even if we don't want to. Like everything's online, everything like you can deposit checks on your phone now, you know, like before you had to go to the bank and wait a few days before you know you could use it, and like all stuff like that. Like we have to keep up no matter what. So it's like either we keep up or we get left behind. So
I want to just follow up on that and say that I'm kind of in between, in the sense that I enjoyed growing up without being dependent on technology. Not that we don't need it, but I enjoyed growing up not being dependent on it. I think right now the problem is that the fact that a lot of people are too dependent on technology. But this movie, blah, 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 disregarding the fact of people being dependent or whatnot, I do believe that today's society is by far 5,000 times a lot better to live than previous years and whatnot. Just based on the fact of technology. Like you said, people can now deposit checks on their phone. They need to do all these different type of things. So I think that in terms of that, living now is a lot better than living then. But the problem with living now is because of the fact that people are too dependent on those things now. I feel like if we can find some kind of balance in between, in the sense that we can use technology to its usefulness, like, you know, depositing checks, or, you know, being able to talk to people, you know, halfway across the world in a matter of seconds, stuff like that. I feel like we're lucky enough to be able to have those kind of things, but we should still be able to know when enough is enough, and not like to be too dependent on like social media and using your phone and just always try to text while not trying to enjoy, like, you know, actual quality time, one-on-one time with other people and stuff, you know. So I feel like it's kind of like an in-between 50-50 type of thing. But
I agree. To add on to what Tommy said, I'm kind of in between as well, but more leaning towards, I would say, new school for a lot of its benefits. But old school, it's like, it makes me sad, because like we were mentioning before, we're like on the pendulum of like old and new, you know? So it makes me kind of sad when I talk to my grandma and like she's trying to get a hold of a like phone company, but like everything's online. Or, you know what I mean? Those situations where like you have to kind of step into that role and help someone with the technology, because there's a big disconnect between old school, or people who only know it in the old way, and then people who do it new school now. Because like, for instance, you're at university trying to get a hold of someone, like speak to a human about like something related to your financials or something related to your academics. Like, yes, we don't have a queuing system, but you can do the press 1, press 2 situation. And it's like, if I can do press 1, press 2, why don't you have a queue? I'm confused. Like 60 times to hear the voice of someone, or like email, you know what I mean? Like you lose some of that connection with people, like real time, real face connection. And I know a lot of people who are like, yo, I only text, I only like, you know, communicate through social media. And it's like, I completely get that, but how do you connect with someone? How do you hear the tones in their voice? How do you know if they're being sarcastic? How do you know if they're joking? Like those little things that you miss out on. Because technology connects us virtually, in the sense that long distance relationships work, or long distance situations work. But when you're not like still having face-to-face connection or being able to have a conversation with someone, it's hard to, like Tommy said, balance that, or see a balance in that, and who's supposed to regulate that balance. But on the flip side, new school, it's amazing because, you know, before technology, sexting wasn't even a thing. you know, in terms of like relationships or in general, like how you can connect with people intimately. Like porn wasn't a thing, or it was a taste for porn, or you know what I mean? Like, so different ways in which everything is so accessible, and dare I say even potentially too accessible, because as a 9-year-old can log on to Pornhub and just press the agree and I'm on.
Yeah.
Supposing to be age restricted. So in those ways, I'm like, it has its blessings, but I'm kind of more leaning towards old school because there is like a certain level of taste or a lack of accessibility. A lot of people ask like, why with old school did people get married so young? And it was because, unfortunately, there was this whole social construct on us being virgins as women, and you know, it was scarcity. People wanted to engage in those types of things, so they had to get married. Like that was just the natural way of things, or way society's supposed to go. But like it being so accessible has morphed the way that relationships exist, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's different. You know.
Just to follow up and sorry, Sean, you want to say something?
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, I just kind of want to touch up on what Tamera said. This is kind of just like an open-ended thing. Like I don't know for sure, but the way I'm looking at it right now, I'm agreeing with Tamera in the sense that when you're looking at technology versus no technology, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is just a thought that just came into my head. But looking at things objectively, I believe that whatever we can do with technology, we can do without. Or whatever we can do without, we can't do with technology, if that makes any sense. Like, let me elaborate in the sense that I'm using the same thing. For example, talking to someone halfway across the world or depositing a check on your phone. Obviously, without technology, it will be significantly harder to do so, but not impossible. Okay, I can still go to the bank and deposit my check. You know, God gave me 2 legs. I'm gonna use them regardless. You know, seeing someone halfway across the world, I can still make an effort to go and see that person. Keep in mind, it's obviously significantly harder, but I can. But looking at using technology versus without, there's certain things you lose by being too dependent on technology. In the sense that, for example, for me, there was one summer that I spent legit almost the entirety of summer by myself. Like I didn't see almost nobody, except for the fact that I went to work and I came back to my crib. That was it. And not so much based on the fact that I was dependent on technology, but because I lacked that human interaction, that face-to-face interaction, when it became time to hang out with my friends and go on and stuff like that, I just felt at first, you know, obviously after I got, you know, used to them, I think it became normal again. But at first, when I first saw them, I was just so like, I was like, oh shit, like what am I supposed to say? Like, how do I have a conversation? Like, like you're lacking those social skills that you would gain, you know what I mean? If you were actually, exactly. Because at the end of the day, like, for example, we're all talking through Zoom right now. Obviously, you know, I can still hear you and see you, that kind of stuff, but it's very different from talking to someone that's right in front of you. You can see their body expression, you can see how they're acting, see the way they want to talk back, all that kind of stuff. And those kind of things kind of, you know, help build an individual in the sense that it helps build relationship. There's only so much you can do online, you know, because at the end of the day, if I want to, I can just close my laptop and that's it. I'm gone. You ain't gonna see me again. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna do that, but I can. You know what I mean? Just so, but like if I'm actually seeing you in person, I can't just, you know, up and leave because you're going to see me leave. You're going to see the different things. It's going to be a little different and stuff. So that was just how I was looking at it. I don't know if people that may see this podcast may think otherwise, but that was just like a thing that just popped in my head.
Listen, Tommy, like don't feel bad at what you said, because like the reason like I have this show is like to make sure that when people say they feel comfortable, like who is being judged or like who wants like, you know, just backfire, like take shots at your opinion. Like this is like, this space, man. Like don't worry about
it. Yeah.
And I mean, in terms of that, like I agree with what Shenel said, you know, like it's like everyone's trying to like play catch up in a way. And like there's different ways to like describe it. Like there's people, especially like in the old school generation, there's like old school heads that are trying to catch up because eventually they fall into that trap where they're catching up so much they become the new school. They become part of that group. And then there's the old school heads who are catching up, but they don't accept that new school mentality. They're just catching up because they're just trying to stay ahead of all the new trends, everything that's going on today. So, like, I think that's really, like, fascinating. Because, again, we're not saying that if we had those stuff back in our time that we would have took advantage of it. Like, you know, if we had a chance to grow up with the iPhone, with all these electronics, with all these technological devices, like that would be amazing. But we're in a world where we have to keep adapting ourselves. It's like survival of the fittest. Like we have to keep progressing, because it's like, in a way, if we don't do anything, we're gonna be stuck in a situation where like we can't move forward and we can't progress. That's evolution right there. And then like, what do you expect us to do? And then you want to ridicule us because we're just trying to do what possibly any human would do when they're put in a situation, when their back's against the wall, when they're cornered and they need to strike at a moment. Like, we're just trying to catch up. And again, like, that's where there's the vision. And like, there may be some people that go too far, that they become the new school just to survive. And then there's people who are just trying to follow up and keep on pace. There's people who are trying to like not pass that person. And then there's person who's like, I'm trying to like be first in line. And, you know, I think that's like the huge narrative that's just been in my head for the longest while. And I think it's just really fascinating how technology could just really flip the switch on in terms of like how people think, how people act, how they behave in today, and just how it causes a division in society.
It's a lifestyle. Technology is a lifestyle, in my opinion. Like, it completely changes the way we look, think, act, behave, everything.
How
Because yeah, everything, legit. It's because the fact that it changes the way we do things. Like, for example, I ain't gotta go over to the bank to check what's in my bank account. I don't have to, I ain't gotta go all the way to now during this quarantine. I don't gotta go to Walmart to go buy groceries. There's an app that does it right now that brings groceries right to your doorstep.
What?
There is actually. It's called Instacart. Yeah, Instacart. You don't gotta go. I think it does Walmart, Loblaws, and then a couple.
Yeah,
other
I know for sure Walmart does it.
Yeah, you don't like. I've done it like twice now. After a while, because at the beginning I was very lazy during the quarantine and stuff, so I didn't want to leave my house. Legit, you can order anything you want from Walmart, and it will come right to your doorstep. Legit. I used it a couple of times. It's very useful, man. That's one thing.
That's a prime example.
That's becoming too dependent.
Tommy, that's a prime example. The fact that Tamera and Shenel are like shocked and like did not know that was a thing. Like, that's just.
They didn't know that something like that.
We're just trying to keep up. There are things you may tell me that like I did not know that were in place.
Every day.
It's better I don't know, because
I was about to say that.
I'm gonna be really from quarantine. No, like, because you're not walking, you're not doing anything, and it's crazy to me that that's even an option. Because like, I feel like my mom just joined Instagram like maybe like a couple months ago, and I was like, Mom, like,
your mom joined Instagram?
Like, she's trying to be relevant. Look, she's like, oh, look at this meme I follow. I'm like,
oh my god.
I'm like,
like, she doesn't recently join, or she's always had an account?
She recently joined, like maybe like 2 months. I was like,
your mom trying to stay updated, man.
My edges, they're receding. Come on now.
Then there's like parents were like sending you videos, like private, like, oh,
WhatsApp.
The WhatsApp group.
Don't get me started with WhatsApp.
Don't even.
I'm like,
even,
please.
They be sending you all like the church things and make sure you drink this.
Oh my god!
Someone told me this. Oh my god!
Make sure you drink your ginger, your lemon. Coronavirus off the charts.
Like, may the Lord bless you. I hope He strengthens you with all.
Oh my god!
Make sure not to touch the door handle with like your left hand or something like that. I don't know, bro. They come up with some new thing every time, man. I just say yes, Mom. Yeah.
You know. But then at the same time, I like agree with, like, to touch on what Tommy was saying though, it's like there's such an intersectionality between like old school and new school in terms of having that level of convenience, like Uber, DoorDash, all that type of stuff. And then at the same time, like, especially in the times we're living in now, where quarantine was a huge thing, people weren't really seeing each other. You're not really supposed to touch each other. Like, it dawned on me like maybe a week ago. My sister was like, "Oh, like, let's cuddle." So I was cuddling my sister, but because I haven't like fully embraced anyone in like all these months, when she embraced me, I was literally there like, ugh.
It felt a little weird. No?
It felt a little weird. Like, it took me a minute to like kind of calm down and be like, okay, like, this is cool, but like,
it's your sister, like, yeah, we're good,
and it's my sister, so come on, like, but it makes you realize how easy it is to like lose that connection with people, or like us as humans thrive off of actual human connection or presence with each other. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
So
yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot. So I have just like one final thing, and like I think Chanel touched upon it earlier on. Like, is there like a gray area in the sense that someone could be old school and someone could be new school again in terms of like what they think? Maybe like I'm more of like a new school in terms of like music, or maybe I'm like an old school in terms of like I don't really like all the technology. I'm just more laid back, just like more of the simple things. Do you believe there's a gray area, or do you think there's like this narrative like, well, there is a gray area, you could be old school and new school, but truly like there's only like one definitive side that you're meant to be on?
Are you asking like, is it possible to be both? Is that what you're saying? Like, is it possible to
I
be
mean,
both
like,
old school and new school?
yeah, is it
Is that what you're
possible?
asking, Sean?
Is it?
Or just in general? I definitely think it is possible to be both new school and old school. Because at the end of the day, I still believe that it's still relative in the sense of however that person wants to define old school and new school. The best way I can describe myself is that I generally believe I'm more old school, but with new school tendencies. That's just because I know that at the end of the day, like, for example, like the music that I listen to and the kind of way I think about stuff, I believe that's more old school in the sense of the way I go about it. But I do know that I have those new school tendencies. Like, I do know that I'd be on my phone quite a lot of times. I play a lot of PlayStation. Like, I'm very dependent on technology too. Even though I tell myself that I like to do all these other things and stuff, I know that I'm still dependent on technology in certain areas. So I definitely believe it's possible to definitely be both, because you can be one or the other in different areas, if that makes any sense. Like,
Yeah.
I could be old school in the sense of the way I behave, the way I act, and all that kind of stuff. But I could be new school in the sense that I listen to more new school music and I'm more, on my phone and stuff like that. So I definitely believe it's possible to be both and stuff. So maybe, yeah, it's definitely possible.
I agree. From my perspective, it's beautiful to be both, but I more think about it on like the way I was raised with an old school mentality. So I'm okay being a wife to someone and to like having a home with like a family, but I have more new school thinkings in the sense that like I also like to work. I like to have my own money. I want to run my own business, and understanding those gender roles in like a relationship, because for me, I'm okay with my husband being the main breadwinner or me raising the children and things like that. But I also don't want to give up my autonomy or just subscribe to this role of like women are supposed to be submissive and like shut up. Like, I still have opinions. I still want to be able to communicate how I feel, or like, a direction I think that is best for us to take. And so that's where I feel like my new school thinking kind of starts pouring in, because a lot of old school thinking is very like gender rolled or hierarchy in that way. And I also in that way also believe like a lot of old school mentality is to like stay within your group, like your nationality, your tribe, whatever it denotes down to. And I'm fortunate enough that I, like, through my family lineage, everyone was kind of like mixed in there. So I don't necessarily subscribe to feeling like, oh, I'm a Black girl, so I have to, like, nobody else is gonna look at me as a legitimate candidate because I'm a Black girl, versus having a new world perspective where, like, if you can meet me on a mature level or ideologies or roles or like concepts, then I think that's more of a new school mentality that I've subscribed to, that I don't think is wrong, but like that's just because I think it. But at the end of the day, it's kind of just both. Like, I feel like you can be both. There's nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, I don't mind to be the wife. I don't mind to have that role, and I want that for myself and my family or future family. Yeah.
I got something to add real quick to Sean. I know Sean, you're the one that usually asks the questions and stuff like that. So but Tamera just kind of flip the switch or whatever what I want to use in my head when she was talking. But I got a question to ask you guys. How do you believe someone becomes old school and new school? Like, what do you think that stems from? If that makes any sense. Like, where would you what do you think happened, or what brought you to this point where you think that you're old school?
I honestly think it has to do with society, because I think when you grow up, you at a very young age, like you usually believe on like your own thoughts. Like I believe in this, I believe in that. These are the things that I enjoy. These are maybe the things I don't enjoy. But once you surround yourself with people and you hear what they have to say, it definitely starts like all the thoughts that you have, they start to change. You may start associating yourself with people that like the same things as you. And then that's where it's like, okay, that's where groups come into play. That's where like you're categorizing things. And then there may be people who dislike the things you dislike, sorry. And in that sense, that's where there's like conflict, so then you're always like changing and going from different groups to different groups. I feel like you're categorizing yourself, you're categorizing all your thoughts. And eventually when you put those all together, you get a certain label. It's like, okay, because of like this and that, because of the certain criteria, you're labeled as old school, you're labeled as new school because you fit this school or you fit what it's listed here. And like, I think that's where we all stem from. To be honest, if I were in like an alternate universe and I did not learn the certain things that I grew up with right now, and I learned something totally different, maybe I wouldn't be considered as like an old school person. Maybe I'd be more new school. Maybe I would like hearing rap music with all the screaming and everything. Maybe I don't like all that old school R&B. Maybe I think that's just nonsense. That's not real music, or like that's not real talent. So it's based on where you first start off in society, where from that first moment you get associated with like different groups, and eventually it passes on. We see it through one example is like education and like school. Elementary school, there's a lot of people that will probably like the same things as you because you're young, you'll probably be enjoying the same things. So, but once you get older, when you get to middle school, high school, and especially universities, there may be like one or two people who like maybe like majority of the things you do, So like that's where like
that can actually.
And I think that's a
that kind of brought me up to something just now.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I know I kept interrupting you. I'm so sorry.
No,
I'm so sorry. I know I interrupted you like twice or something like that. But yeah. No. Just to kind of go off. Yeah. You done? You finished?
Yeah. I'm good.
Okay. Just had to make sure. But just to kind of go off what you were saying earlier was just the fact that I believe you're right in the sense of it's has something to do with society. Society. Tomi, English. Wow. Society. Not only society, but also think it has something to do with upbringing as well, in the sense of like our parents. Because when Tamera mentioned something about how she wouldn't mind being like the housewife that stays at home and takes care of the house, that kind of made me think. I was like, whoa, parents, upbringing. Because I think a lot of the things that we adopt or become part of ourselves as we grow up is what our parents teach us. And I believe I'm not speaking for your guys' parents, but I believe the general basis is for black parents is that they're very old school in the way they teach and they come across to their to their kids. So I know that when I was growing up, I was having to the sense that, I'm supposed to be the breadwinner of the family, like I'm the man of the house, I can't be doing other business, this and that. And when I was growing up, I was kind of feeding off that old school mentality and energy that my parents were bringing onto me. And that's how I felt that I got my own old school mentality. But as I grew up and instead of becoming my own individual, I started to learn different other things from other people and other, like you said, society, the schools I go to, the city I grew up in, all those kind of things. I think that's what brought me into that new school mentality, in the sense that I'm coming out here and I realized that, things are not just as black as white as my parents say. Maybe this is how things were working back in the 70s, the 60s for them and stuff like that. Maybe that's how things work. But I know that with today's society and how things are so diverse and technology and stuff, how they thought and how they went about their business won't be as successful now as it was then. And I think that's what now brought me into this whole new school mentality, because I tried to adapt because I felt like I was lacking behind keeping that old school mentality with the fact that today's ever-changing environment and constant moving forward. Like you said, people always bring in new things and we got to keep playing catch up, And I felt like I was lacking behind that. That's why I now felt I had to introduce the whole new school mentality. So that's why I was saying that at the beginning that I think it's best, honestly, to have a little bit of both, because there's certain things you would gain from each of them. I don't think you'd be entirely beneficial by being entirely old school or entirely new school. I think that there's different things you gain from each of them that will help, mature yourself into the kind of individual you want to be when you grow up and stuff. So.
Well, damn, I wasn't trying to say, I'm just trying to live this like obedient life. So.
Oh no, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you. I was just going off in general.
No. I hear what you're saying though, because I like what your question was. It's like how things could be done. I think the difference between old and new school, and like just recognizing the differences, because what you're saying is right. It's just the way I was raised. Like I was raised, you get up, you serve your man, or you serve the house, like make sure that they're taken care of. You cook, you do the dishes, and like I look at that. I don't even know where my mom musters that energy. Like it's just like some supercharged, and it's like the new school mentality of that is saying like, yo, you stayed home today too. We both stayed home. Just because I'm doing the laundry doesn't mean you can't do the dishes. You know what I mean? Like just equal or more equal idea.
Okay. Yeah, I hear that. No. I was just kind of just going off in the sense that I know that's how, because I know I had a very similar upbringing, man. I had these strict ass Nigerian parents, man. They just kept pounding shit to my head. You can't do this, you can't do that. So I know where it comes from and stuff like that. So I wasn't trying to say that as you're just no. Forgive me. That's how I came across. But, Shenel, maybe.
I can't hear you. The internet's unstable.
I'm sorry.
It's not stable.
I was on mute.
You've been on mute.
It's not stable in my room. So I'm listening to you guys and I'm like 3 seconds behind because I can hear your voice. So
Yeah,
like,
the internet's kind of stable too. Like, I don't know where that's coming from, honestly.
Are you at your crib or like you're at some other place?
No, I'm at home. We're both at home.
Wi-Fi is just not.
Yeah, Wi-Fi is just.
You know what? Honestly, it's cool. Like, I think everyone's heard like enough. I mean, like a couple minutes where we're just lagging. I mean, it's not gonna hurt.
Yeah, no wrong though. You're not wrong.
Yeah, but Shenel, is there like anything you want to say? Because like I think I kind of want to wrap up because I know you guys have your stuff to do.
Oh,
we got 9 minutes.
Tomi and Tamera touched on everything. I think the most beautiful thing about this generation or like the new school is that we challenge notions that were put before us. We don't stick with anything. Like it's not black and white. It's black, gray, pink, orange, blue, yellow. And I think that's what diversifies everything. And that's the reason why the old school can make a choice. And that's why we can be both and it can be beautiful. So I definitely say, yeah, same.
Okay. Yeah.
I like the way you should put that. That was kind of nice.
Yeah. I just want to like wrap up. Is that like I totally agree with everyone has said here. It's just we want to like have this conversation. I'm glad we've had this conversation just to talk about it. And when it comes to old school, new school, I believe there can be both. And we want to make sure like we're just having these conversations and hoping that we could just come to some type of agreement. Like it doesn't have to be some dispute on one topic or maybe a dispute on a certain situation. And I'm not trying to say like everything's gonna be perfect. There may be things where like we argue like, oh, this is better, or like I view this higher than what your own opinion, your own ideology. But we always want to have in the back of our mind that we're all trying to like catch up. We're all trying to like look on both sides. Like I can't say that as someone who's like more old school, I'm trying to keep with all the new school stuff. But at the same time, there may be a new school person like I kind of want to know of like the old school stuff, because like I may be around certain people and we talk about shows like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Martin, like smart guy, like I'm confused. Like wait, I've never heard those shows before. Like what are you guys talking about? You kind of feel alone. So like
okay, I thought you said you had never watched those shows.
No.
Okay, I was about to be like, you don't know no Fresh Prince? Like, you don't have a problem, Sean, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I got you.
I think the word I would say is like social inclusion. We just want to be included, and like we're doing that in all types of ways. Whether it's just like talking with our friends, trying to get more, maybe it's watching the show, or maybe listening to something like in terms of music, or just trying to get to know more. Like a great thing is that like information always gets passed down. Like in this age, like technology, knowledge, it can be transmitted to another person like immediately. And like, that's the beautiful part. So instead of like clashing with the knowledge that you have with someone else's knowledge, why don't you just try to combine it together? So that way you both could learn something from each respective side. I think like if we're able to do that, then, you know, I think we'll be fine. Like, you know, we're more open to have discussions like this without having the awkwardness of like, oh yeah, but this side's better. Yeah, this side's weak. It's trash. Like, no, I think we can have these conversations where like it's just smooth, understandable, and just we're listening to everything that people have to say, basically.
I definitely agree with what you're saying. I feel like, especially with everything going on in this year and the new decade, I feel like now is the time that we can have open dialogue and be able to. I feel like we're going through a stage of enlightenment, like pretty on a grander perspective, and having these conversations is giving people the opportunity to take us out of the position of us versus them and look at the issue as us versus the problem, or us looking at a solution. And that's something that's so beautiful, and I'm grateful to even be a part of this. And like, there's a lot of people too who are looking for people who have these perspectives or aren't afraid to communicate and articulate them. That, you know, it's just as simple as having a listening ear and being able to have that conversation that makes all of the difference. So.
Yeah. Tommy, you want to say anything?
Oh, no. I was just trying to just agree on what you were saying earlier, in the sense that I feel like a lot of people, new school, old school, doesn't really matter. But I feel like one problem that today's society has is that whenever people have open dialogue or discussion, people are under the assumption that they must reach a conclusion. Like, they must be in agreement with one another and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if we're having a discussion, I don't have to agree with what you're saying. Like, if me and you are talking, Sean, we're talking about sports, we're talking about who's the better team, the Lakers or the Clippers. I don't have to agree with you. But the fact is that if we have a discussion, you tell me the points why you think the Clippers are better. I'm going to tell you you're stupid because the Lakers are better. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, once we at least come to once you at least come to understand one another, at least I think that's the main aim of the conversation. Not who's right or who's wrong, but just learning something you do not know prior to the conversation. At least coming away knowing that you learned something coming from that, you know? So yeah. I think that's what a lot of people need to understand nowadays.
Yeah, so I think you just wrapped it up perfectly. Yeah, I think that's all we have for today. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to Tamera, Tomi, Shenel for coming in and doing this. You know,
we live in the same house called coming in. I'm not.
Hey.
I'm gonna work next door and talk about coming in, man.
You know, hey, still, I gotta give thanks. You know, this is something that I had in mind for a while. I hope the guests for my new school episode are watching this, because you know, you guys have a huge task to fill.
It's recording on my birthday, yo. So make sure you get them to like.
Oh, really?
Give her a little shout out. You know what I mean?
Happy birthday! Like, what? Oh,
thanks. Yeah, on the 10th, I was like, is that this one? Or
that's crazy. That's crazy. But thank you guys again for tuning in. You could check all these guys out on Instagram. I don't know if you guys want to shout your Instagram, your whatever, you know.
What is my Instagram name? Whoa.
Hey, whatever you use, you know, I want people to let you guys know, you know.
Twitter's popping, but nah. Instagram, Shenel.Williams.
My Instagram's potent.t.
Is how what?
Potent.t.
Potent, okay. Yeah. And mine is Tomiwa_Toriola.
All right. And also go check out Tamera's YouTube channel. Go subscribe to the family.
Hey, Sean, I appreciate you.
Watch a video sometimes. I just watch a couple. Just letting you know.
Oh, and go check out Tommy's streams as well, man. I be watching those as well, bro.
You watch those, Sean? Yes, sir.
Yo.
Crazy stuff, man.
What do you do them on Twitch?
Yeah, Twitch.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Man.
I'm just getting on Twitch. I'm curious.
Hey, what are you using Twitch for? Like for gaming too, or just something else?
I could use it for gaming, but I'm still navigating the app, to be honest.
You're just getting it for now, at least.
Yeah, like I literally just downloaded it, but
it's nice. It's nice for watching other videos and stuff. Yeah. So.
I might. Okay, I'll hit you up on what your Twitch is. Do you game? What games do you do? You game?
FIFA, 2K, all these other like gaming games too, like the actual like regular games and stuff. I play everything. I dabble.
All right. Yeah. Little like, collaboration right there.
Tamera, Tomi, dropping a Twitch video very soon.
Very soon.
So again, thank you guys for tuning in. You know what it is. It's your boy, President Sean Williams, and I'll see you guys soon.
Oh, I didn't see you there. Alright then. So, if you made it to the end of the video, first one, you're the real ones from day ones. Thank you so much. And secondly, I gotta give another thanks to Tomi, Tamera, and my sister Shenel for being in this episode. We worked so hard on this, and I'm just really glad we got this episode out. Now that you saw the old school, you have to hear from the new school. So when can you hear that? Make sure you tune in Monday, August 10th to hear the new school's perspective. They have a lot of work, I'm not gonna lie with you. The old school they brought in this episode, we'll just have to see. Make sure you guys check out my YouTube channel, check out all my previous episodes for the Safe Room. Also check out my sports podcast, the Court Advantage podcast, no cap, if you know, you know. And as well, just make sure to share this video. If we can get this to 50 likes, that would be amazing. Share the video because this was something that was really inspired by me. I was just always curious about the old school and the new school generation. It just turns out like how we think, how we behave, how we act. It's a really good conversation starter for anyone who's like, you know what, I don't really know which side to really pick. It's kind of confusing. So it would really be amazing if you guys share it. Make sure you check out my Instagram, Mr_President SW. Make sure you follow me. And yeah, you know what it is, your boy, the President, Sean Williams. I'm out. Peace.